dear children, Namaste and welcome to the Terminology series. This is Ambika, your biology master teacher, right here on this super amazing platform, which is Vedantu 9th and 10th English. Well, guys, today we are going to be discussing the important terms, the important list of terms from the chapter Life Processes, your CBSE Class 10 Biology chapter. All right. But as always, how can we move on without a positive quote? So it's right here. Something that we can call food for thought, something like that. Your dreams are the other side of your fears. Yes, so always keep this in mind. It's up to you which side to project, always. Okay, now let's get started. Life processes. What exactly does that mean? Of course, do remember, children, this is not the session in one shot. We are not going to be discussing every concept in one shot, but rather only the important terms in this chapter. And I would say life processes is a chapter which has got a lot of terms. In case you don't know the meaning of any one of these terms, things are going to be very difficult for you as far as this chapter is concerned. So no worries at all. Solution is right here. Terminology series, right? Okay, what exactly are life processes? The vital processes which are carried out by living organisms in order to maintain and sustain life. Sustain life of an individual organism, an independent organism. This is what life processes would be. Well, of course, as you can see here, nutrition, transportation, respiration, circulation, transportation and circulation, excretion, all of these would be examples. Reproduction also as far as a full species is concerned. But when you think of an independent individual organism, reproduction would not come under it. Why so? Because reproduction is mainly a process, a life process, which helps in continuity of species. Continuity of species is different from what is required to sustain or serve for the survival of one individual organism, right? So nutrition, general metabolism, transportation, respiration, excretion are all important even for one independent organism to survive. Like, for example, I am an individual organism. You are an individual organism. Everyone you know are individual human beings. So all of us require these life processes to continue our life, to sustain our life. Reproduction is more of something that is required for continuity of the species Homo sapiens, not really for one individual organism to survive, right? Okay, so that's what it is. Now, nutrition. What exactly would nutrition be? The first life process, right? It's the process of obtaining and utilizing nutrients which are necessary to sustain life. So it's got a lot more than just eating or just arranging nutritious food on your plate. It's got a lot more than that. Different kinds of nutrition, autotrophic, heterotrophic, and how they utilize all those nutrients, how the bodies utilize all those nutrients are equally important under the category of the term nutrition. All right. Yes. Now comes the first type of nutrition, which is autotrophic nutrition. As you know, auto would mean self, right? Trophos is nutrition. Now, this is the kind of nutrition wherein organisms can prepare their own food from simple inorganic substances in nature. Plants are the best example. Some bacteria like cyanobacteria are also examples. Photosynthesis is the major method by which they carry out autotrophic nutrition. Chemosynthesis is also a similar process wherein instead of light as a source of energy, certain chemical sources of energy get utilized. Okay, right. So this is what autotrophic nutrition is. And these organisms, remember this term is also important. These organisms, we call them autotrophs. Okay, autotrophs. All right, next one. Heterotrophic nutrition. Heteros would mean others, depending upon other organisms for food. This is what we do. This is what amoeba does. This is what paramecium does. This is what cows do. All of these organisms, right? So there are three major types of heterotrophic nutrition. I'll mention those as well here. Parasitic, just like mosquitoes, wherein it just sucks on a host organism's body to obtain its nutrients. Then there is saprophytic nutrition, which is like the case of fungi, wherein feeds on dead and decaying organic matter. Finally, there is, like in our case, holozoic nutrition, wherein ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and ejection are very, very critical parts. Okay, right. So this is about heterotrophic nutrition. Moving on now, what is photosynthesis? We've seen this already as part of autotrophic nutrition. Remember, children, whenever you talk about photosynthesis, it's important for you to keep in mind the equation as well. Okay, so 6 CO2 plus 12 H2O gives C6H12O6, which is glucose, plus 6 water molecules formed as a byproduct and oxygen. Right? So this occurs in the presence of sunlight, which is trapped by chlorophyll. Now, children, you might also find another version of this equation wherein it's 6CO2 plus 6H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2. So this water may not be mentioned in that. I think that's what is given in your NCERT. Both of these are correct. This is more appropriate, but you can go by what is given in your textbook. But the point here is you must know the correct equation. That is also correct. This is also correct. And when I say the correct equation, it has to be complete as well. It has to be balanced, and the terms sunlight and chlorophyll should also be a part of it. Okay, right. So this is about chlorophyll. This is about how chlorophyll is important in photosynthesis. All right. So let's move on now to the next one. Stomata. The tiny openings, the minute pores which are present in the epidermis of a leaf or stem. And it's through these that gaseous exchange and transpiration would occur. So the stomata are important as far as photosynthesis is concerned, respiration is concerned, and transpiration is concerned. Yes, children? So, there we go. That's about it. The outermost layer, when you take a cross section of the leaf, would contain bean-shaped cells, which we call guard cells. And in between that would be an opening called the stoma, which is singular. Stomata or stomata would be the plural. Okay, so this would be guard cells. This is one guard cell, and there are two guard cells over here. Okay, right. Now the next one, alimentary canal. Now children, don't worry, we don't have so many terms in every life process. Nutrition, or the first life process in the chapter, is what contains too many terms. Okay, now alimentary canal, many people, you know what, the reason I put this term is because many people generally mistake the alimentary canal for the esophagus or the intestine. The alimentary canal is actually the single long tube extending from the mouth to the anus, from the mouth till the anus, which means consists of the buccal cavity, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach, small intestine, and the large intestine opening out through the anus. This entire tube is one single tube, which is called the alimentary canal, also called the digestive tract. Right, children? Now, remember, you guys are going to higher grades, especially if you are a NEET aspirant. When you don't know terms like the gut or the alimentary canal or the digestive tract, things become a little more difficult for you. So be prepared right now. Set your base correct so that things are going to be much easier for you. Digestive tract, alimentary canal, simple language, we also call it the gut. Okay, right. So this is where all the steps of holozoic nutrition occur. Ingestion, digestion, absorption, and ejection. Assimilation would happen in independent cells of your body, which is why that's not mentioned here. That's only utilization of nutrients, right? Okay, now coming to enzymes. What exactly are enzymes? These are biological catalysts which speed up the rates of reactions in your body. So there are a lot of enzymes associated with the human body, which are pepsin, salivary amylase, trypsin, and so many others. So every enzyme has got a particular substrate upon which they can act. They form a complex, and ultimately they can form a product. This is how digestion is carried out in human beings. What is peristalsis? The wave-like contractions. Do you see that? The wave-like contractions and relaxations of the alimentary canal, pushing the food forward. right, children? So think about something like the toothpaste tube. When you have to push it forward, you just when the tube is like half empty, and or only half full, you might have to put some effort into pressing it from the bottom, right? So that wave like effect which pushes it forward, something similar to that happens in your alimentary canal to push down the food. That is what we call peristalsis, the wave like contractions and relaxations. But the difference would be in the case of a toothpaste, it may not come back to the normal relaxed state, right? Once you press it, it might remain in that shape. But our alimentary canal in a healthy state contracts to push the food forward. Once the purpose has been met, it comes back to normal, as you see in this image. Okay, right. This is what peristalsis is. Starts at the esophagus, continues till the anus. Okay, right. Next up, gastric glands. Now, children, remember, gastric. Whenever you hear the term gastric or gastro, remember it's something to do with your stomach or something to do with your digestive tract in general. Something to do with digestion in general. Okay, so gastroenterologist would be a doctor who specializes in your alimentary canal health, right? So gastric glands are generally those that are found in the wall of the stomach, and they can release what we call gastric juice comprised of HCl, pepsin, and mucus. Now, what does HCl do? Yes, you need to know the functions of those. Pepsin, what does it do? And mucus, what does it do? You need to make a table to understand all this. I'll tell you the very important ones. Pepsin, because it's yet another complex term here. Let's talk about pepsin. It's a digestive enzyme found as part of gastric juice in the stomach. Okay, well, this is something that gets activated in the presence of HCl and helps in protein digestion in the body. Okay, so this is what pepsin does. Pepsin, maybe Pepsi is a term that everyone knows, right? Connected to that, remember, but of course, I just told you to remember the term. Don't mistake it for the fact that pepsin helps in protein digestion, but Pepsi is not really a healthy drink. Okay, so that's got nothing to do with protein digestion. That's just an aerated drink. But then, because the name might be useful for you to remember it, I happen to mention that. Okay, children. So breakdown of proteins and peptides is catalyzed by pepsin. All right, and pepsin gets activated by HCl because it provides a low pH, and pepsin gets activated when the pH is low. All right, yes. Now the next one, emulsification. What does this mean? Well, if you remember, whenever I taught you the concept, whenever I told you about this term, I have always brought in the term washing your hands with soap. That's also a way of emulsification. That's also a kind of emulsification, right? Wherein you've eaten something really oily, something like chili paneer or gobi Manchurian or something like that with your hands, of course, as how we prefer it generally, right? So your hands are full of oil and you want to wash it off. Plain water wouldn't do the job. You will have to use some hand wash or something soapy to emulsify all that excess oil, which means all the oil globules or the fat globules which are stuck onto your skin have to get broken down. Likewise, in the food that you eat, the fats which are there, they get emulsified or broken down by a secretion called bile. Bile is secreted by the liver, temporarily stored in the gallbladder, and it acts in the small intestine. So always remember this. Bile is produced by the liver, okay, produced by the liver. It is stored in the gallbladder, and it is released into the small intestine. Released in small intestine. That's where it acts on the food and carries out the emulsification process. Okay, right. So this is what emulsification would mean. Now coming to bile, of course, I've told you already, it's the digestive juice secreted by the liver, stored in the gallbladder, aids in the digestion of fats. Okay, right. Now, pancreatic juice. Now remember, on the right side of your stomach, there's the liver. On the left side, there is the pancreas, the leaf-like organ which you see here. The pancreas also secretes what we call pancreatic juice, which is a mixture of enzymes, which is a mixture of several enzymes which aid in digestion of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. All of these enzymes mixed up together is what the pancreas secretes, and we call that mixture the pancreatic juice. Okay, right. So this is what it is. Trypsin. Now, like pepsin, because trypsin rhymes with pepsin, in this case, it's pretty much similar in terms of function as well, because trypsin is also involved in protein digestion, secreted by the pancreas, released in the small intestine, acts in the small intestine. So always remember, whatever the liver and the pancreas secrete, they would be released into the small intestine, and that's where they act. Okay, right. Next one, lipase. Lipase or lipase, you can pronounce it however you want to. It's an enzyme which catalyzes the breakdown of lipids or fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, so this is what lipase is. So breakdown of fats or lipids into fatty acids and glycerol. Right. Now the next one, villi. What exactly are these? Well, if you remember, in the small intestine, I'll just draw the small intestine like this, like a straight tube. The inner walls of the small intestine are folded up into tiny, tiny finger-like projections. We call them microvilli or villi in general. Okay, villi are these projections which are there to increase the surface area of absorption of the nutrients. So as you can see in this image, children, the finger-like projections or the villi are richly supplied with blood capillaries, and that is exactly how nutrients pass on to the bloodstream, and the bloodstream carries it to the different parts of your body. All right. So villi in your small intestine performs a function similar to dash in your lungs. Can you tell me the answer to that? Put it in the comment section below. I'll see how many of you have actually paid attention to that. Okay. The question is, villi in the small intestine can be comparable to dash in the lungs. Okay, right. Next one, ejection. Opposite of ingestion, right? Ingestion is eating the food. Ejection would be elimination of fecal matter through the anus. Undigested food gets eliminated in the form of fecal matter. So this is what we call ejection. Now moving on to the next life process, and that is respiration. Respiration is, simply put, the process by which food is burnt to release energy. All those end products of nutrition, right? The glucose, the amino acids, the fatty acids, all of those, they get transported by the bloodstream from the villi to the different cells of your body. In every cell of your body, now what happens? As long as there is oxygen supply, aerobic respiration can happen. Cellular respiration can happen. So the glucose, which is the best source of energy in your body, gets oxidized to release energy in the form of ATP. All right. So this is it. Remember the flow chart as well, the three major modes, the anaerobic one, the aerobic one, and the muscle cells one, right? Okay. Now, aerobic respiration, as the name indicates, it's the process or the type of respiration which occurs in the presence of oxygen. Oxygen is a very, very important term over here. All right. Yes. So, starting with glycolysis, aerobic respiration always starts with glycolysis, which is the conversion of glucose to pyruvate. This is glycolysis. Okay. Now, this would occur in aerobic and in anaerobic respiration. And then what happens to the pyruvate is what differs. And that's the flow chart which I was telling you to remember. All right. Yes. So moving on to anaerobic respiration. Now, this is the case where, like in the case of some bacteria and yeast, bacteria and fungi, oxygen would be absent. In the absence of oxygen, nutrients are broken down to release energy. But of course, the amount of energy released will be far less than that in aerobic respiration. In terms of efficiency, hence, aerobic respiration is a lot better. Okay, right. Next one, alveoli. What are these? Alveoli are the tiny sacs of the lungs where gaseous exchange occurs with the circulatory system. Now, if you remember, this is the trachea. They branch out into right and left bronchi. All right, I'll mark the trachea like this. They enter into the right and left lungs respectively, and inside the lungs, they branch out into bronchioles. All right, bronchioles. And the bronchioles would terminate in what we call alveoli. All right. Yes. So this is what it is. Alveoli or air sacs. This is where rich blood supply would be present. As you can see in this image, there is a rich supply of blood in the alveoli for gaseous exchange. Right. Trachea. I've told you already from the diagram, trachea is commonly called the windpipe. Right? The windpipe. The structure through which air would enter into your lungs, conveys the inhaled air into your bronchi. Okay, this is what it is, the trachea. All right, at the top of it you can see there is the larynx or the voice box as well. Okay, now moving on to the next part, which is the bronchus. This is again something I've told you. The trachea branches out into the right bronchus and the left bronchus. So this is the trachea, which branches out into the right bronchus and the left bronchus. These are the bronchi. These two tubes are the bronchi. Bronchus or bronchi. Singular, plural. That's it. Okay? Right. Now, let's take a quick break before we continue. Too many terms, right? No worries at all. They are all super simple. I just wanted to give you a list of reminders so that you're completely clear. But anyway, let's take a couple of minutes break. Remember, you now have the opportunity to do your best. Learn at your pace and do your best for your final exams with Vedantu. Children, you can be part of unlimited live classes with fun and high-level quizzes at Vedantu. Children, you can also compete with students across the country, across different parts of the world as well. And that feels awesome. You know, it's a really, really wonderful feel to have a mixed crowd in an online class, and really feels great. Feels like so many people are sitting inside one room and just chit-chatting. That's an amazing feel. Well, one more thing is, one interesting feature of our platform is that even if you miss a session while it's happening live, you can always watch the interactive replay, wherein the quizzes and leaderboards are going to be live. They're going to be just like any live session. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is, of course. You can also download handwritten notes of your master teachers for that personal connect, and it's also going to be super helpful to you. And children, doubt solving, session assignments, chapter assignments, test papers, everything will be designed and given to you. And that means your preparation is going to be called complete. Okay? Right. And on top of all this, like icing on cake, as I always love calling this, micro courses and crash courses are going to be available to you without any extra cost. Isn't that wonderful? Yes, children. So to know more about this, check out the link given in the description box below and apply the coupon code AMBPRO. Okay. Now remember this, because right now it's available to you at a monthly price of 2,000 without any discounts. Okay. So 2,000 is going to be the price for 4 subjects together: English, social studies, science, and maths. Okay, all together 2,000. When you apply the coupon code, which is AMBPRO, when you apply it, it gets reduced to 1,600. All right, we did have a 50% off until recently, but right now it's going to give you a basic offer, and from 2,000 it gets reduced to 1,600. And calculate the per session cost. That brings down the per session cost to rupees 8, because 1,600 divided by 200, because if used right, if used correctly, if optimally utilized, you can avail up to 200 live sessions from a 1-month subscription, from all the 4 subjects together, that is. Isn't that amazing? Yes, children. So make the best use of it while the offers are still going on, because it's even less priced than your favorite snack packet. Right, children? Okay. Now continuing with our life processes. Hemoglobin, where have we heard the term? The respiratory pigment found inside the red blood cells, RBC. If this is the RBC, there's hemoglobin inside it, which can attach to oxygen. Now, if you remember, it can also attach to carbon dioxide, but it's got more affinity for oxygen. Now, if you remember the story which I told you, RBC, your red blood cells, can be comparable to a taxi, a cab. The hemoglobin would be the cab driver. And this cab driver has got certain favorite passengers. Okay, so hemoglobin's favorite between oxygen and carbon dioxide is always oxygen. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are both passengers. Hemoglobin is like, when both of you are there, I prefer to pick up oxygen, okay, and not carbon dioxide. But given a chance, given a choice between oxygen and carbon monoxide, this cab driver is going to pick carbon monoxide. His favorite passenger is going to be carbon monoxide among these three. Okay, so keep that in mind: carbon monoxide, oxygen, and then carbon dioxide. This is why we talk about carbon monoxide poisoning, which could lead to death as well in certain cases, right? Okay, now blood plasma. And yes, and now one more thing, children, it is the oxygenated hemoglobin form that gives our blood the red color. Okay, keep this in mind. Blood plasma, as you would have learned in the chapter tissues in 9th grade, blood plasma is the fluidy portion of the blood in which all the blood corpuscles are lying suspended. There is about 55% of plasma in your blood. Apart from this, there are RBCs, WBCs, and platelets, which we call formed elements. So blood plasma, right? Plasma and the corpuscles, or the formed elements as we may call them, together they make up your blood. Okay, right. So this is what plasma does. Now coming to atria. Atria are also called, what are they? Auricles. The two upper chambers. If you draw it like this, there is the right atrium and the left atrium. These are the atria, the upper chambers which receive blood from the different body parts. Veins bring in blood and drain that blood into the atria. Okay, now coming to ventricles, the two lower chambers of your heart. These are your ventricles, right ventricle and the left ventricle. When the atria contract, the blood would flow into the respective ventricles. And when the ventricles contract, that blood moves into the respective arteries, which carry it away from the heart. Okay, so this is what auricles and ventricles are. Now, double circulation, what exactly is it? The type of circulation in which blood flows twice through the heart. Okay, and that is once between, as a circulation between the heart and lungs. Okay, so I'll just mention that between heart and the lungs. Okay, and back to the heart, and then of course after this would be to the different parts of your body, the rest of your body, and from there it comes back into the heart. Right, so this is what double circulation is. So as you can see, as is evident from this diagram, the same blood flows twice through the heart, once in the form of deoxygenated blood and once in the form of oxygenated blood. All right, yes. Now remember, examples for double circulation would be birds and mammals, the best examples. Okay, right. Next one. Arteries. Arteries are blood vessels which carry blood away from the heart. The best way to remember this is A for artery stands for away. Artery carries blood away from the heart. For example, aorta is the biggest artery, right? Pulmonary artery also carries blood away from the heart. But also remember that the pulmonary artery is the only exception in terms of carrying deoxygenated blood instead of oxygenated blood. Okay, right. Next one, veins. What about veins? Veins are blood vessels which carry blood towards the heart. Okay, so examples would be the vena cava and the pulmonary veins. Okay, Pulmonary veins would be the only exception, like the pulmonary artery, because remember, the heart and lungs have a very, very special bond. So between the heart and lungs, pathway can be a little different. Pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein carrying deoxygenated and oxygenated blood respectively. Okay, now next one, what exactly is blood clotting? The process by which the blood coagulates. Now when you have a wound or a cut in your skin, what happens? Within some time, the blood starts becoming solid. It forms a clot. This is what we call blood clotting, which is facilitated by what? Platelets or thrombocytes, as we may call it. Right, children? Platelets or thrombocytes help in this. So this helps prevent excessive blood loss from the body. All right, children? Well, so we are done with, I think, nutrition and respiration. We are in transportation or circulation right now. And talking about plants, root pressure is one very, very important term. What exactly is this? Root pressure. Some sort of pressure associated with the root, but what exactly? The pressure exerted in the roots of plants as a result of osmosis, right? But what does it do? Why is it important? This pressure from the roots causes the cell sap to rise through a plant's stem to the leaves. So say, for example, this is the root system and this is the shoot. It's got the stem, it's got the leaves, right? Yes, the flowers, the fruits, whatever it may be. From the roots, there has to be root pressure to push the cell sap up along the direction, along the upward direction in order to transport water and minerals. Right? So this is how it occurs. Root pressure and transpirational pull are two very, very important terms. That's why transpiration, remember, it's the loss of water vapor from the aerial parts of a plant majorly through stomata. Transpirational pull creates a pulling effect because when what happens is, if this is a column of water in a plant body, from here, say for example, water gets lost by transpiration. There is a hole that's created, or there is an empty space which is created. In order to fill up that empty space, what happens is the plant would pull up a water molecule from just below it. When that also moves up, in order to make up for that, it pulls up from just below it, and so on. So it acts as a sort of pulling effect, transpirational pull. And from the bottom, there is a pushing effect, which is root pressure. Right? So root pressure and transpirational pull together help in water and mineral transport in a plant body. Okay? Very important. Now translocation, food delivery service. Right? Xylem is what helps in water and mineral transport. Phloem is what helps in food transport. When I say food, it is end products of photosynthesis, which is there in the leaves, to the different parts of the plant body. So remember, phloem acts like the food delivery service. So food delivery would mean it transports food to the upper parts as well as the lower parts of the plant body. Okay, so this is what translocation is. Now coming to excretion, remember children, it is not synonymous to ejection. Remember, ejection is only elimination of fecal matter, but excretion is the process by which biological nitrogenous wastes are removed, especially through the kidneys. Little bit of it gets eliminated by through the lungs when you exhale, some bit of it through the liver, some bit of it through the skin, but kidneys are the major organs of nitrogenous waste elimination in the form of urine. In the form of urine. Okay? Yes. Now, what is a nephron? The basic structural and functional unit of a kidney is called a nephron. It is in the nephron that the 3 steps of urine formation would occur. Urine formation, what are they? What are those 3 steps? Yes, ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration, followed by tubular reabsorption. Yes, children, in case you wish to revise all these concepts, please go back to Umang series or the Bio Bites in 15-minute series. And finally, it would be filtration, reabsorption and secretion. Tubular secretion. Okay. So basically what happens is the nephrons do a very good job of filtering the blood which is brought into your kidneys, and only the harmful substances would be removed from the blood and the purified blood is pumped back into the body. The unwanted substances get eliminated in the form of urine. Okay, so that is about the major terms, seemingly complex terms coming under the chapter life processes. Right, children? Now, remember to visit the link in the description box below. The coupon code is AMBPRO. Now, children, please click on the like button if you have found this useful, and please share it with all your CBSE 10 friends, because we want as many of you as possible to benefit from all the hard work that we put into these sessions, children. Stay subscribed as well, because more and more surprises will be coming up for you in the days and weeks to come. And until we meet again, remember to stay happy and stay healthy. This is Ambika signing off. Bye bye.